Well, today while I'm waiting on the zoomies to come back from the welder, I had a few parts come in. The MSD box came in. I just got it mounted to the back of my dash. Looks like the wiring harness might even be long enough when it's mounted to the dash to make it out to the distributor, but I want to make sure I got a little extra so I could take the dash off to work on things instead of trying to work up underneath it. And also today, my cable came in for the throttle cable. But I had one problem. I ordered it 3 feet, and I assumed it was going to be 3 feet from the groove to the threads. In other words, from this groove right here where it locks in here, and I was going to come down here and put a bulkhead here and thread it, lock it onto the firewall right there. Well, they said they measured their cables end to end. So from the clip to the groove is only 24 inches and the cable's a foot short. So I'm gonna have to send it back and get a longer cable. And then also today, the gaskets came in for the exhaust, for the zoomies, and picked up some fittings over at Heinz Brothers for my fuel line. I'm getting ready. I ordered a ball valve. It should be here in the next day or two. I want to mount it underneath the frame, in between the alternator here and in the plate. It's a miniature, full bore, 3/4 inch ball valve where I'll be able to shut the fuel off if I want to disconnect the pump without having to worry about draining the tank. So that should be here in the next couple of days. And also from Good Vibrations out in California, I ordered a fuel shutoff cable, which apparently I ordered it extra long because of the way the sizes worked. So it's going to work. I don't have to worry about sending that back. So let me get back to my wiring. Well, I finished mounting the wiring in the dash. I got my MSD box mounted, as you can see, up under the dash. And I had a couple little issues, mostly my fault for assumiciding that the ignition switch that turns the power on and off to the box would power the box. Well, after reading the instructions, MSD tells you to run 2 number 10 wires for a ground and a hot right to the battery, unfused, to power the box. And then when you flip the ignition switch on, which is going to be here, that'll turn the box on and off, with the ignition, but the power is coming right from the battery. So I ended up, as you can see down here, running 2 number 10 wires back to the battery to take care of that. And then I run a jumper wire from the MSD box over to the switch, so obviously I could turn it on and off. The next problem I had was the tachometer. I again assumicided that the tach was going to get power from the MSD box, and it turns out that it doesn't. All it gets from the MSD box is a signal. It calls for a separate power wire fused to run the tach. So rather than run another wire all the way back to my fuse panel relay, I got to thinking about this. For now, what I did was I just took power off of my start button right here, because the start button actually just works a relay, not the starter. So it draws very, very little power, and only for the seconds that it's cranking. So I went to the hot side of that push button to power my tach. And so that took care of that problem. And then the last problem was my problem, the light for the tach and the lights for the oil and the temperature gauges. I forgot to run a wire to that. So that I ended up running another wire back through the harness there under the seat. And that has to get tied into the headlight turn signal circuit. So when you pull the headlights on, obviously the gauge lights will come on when the headlights are on. So anyway, we got that done. And now I got everything working. Well, let me show you quick. I got a power switch underneath here to turn the power on and off. Now, when you turn that power off on the main power switch, nothing on the car will work. Everything is off, including the MSD box. It'll turn off when you turn off the car's power. But I was afraid that somebody might reach in and try to push the start button or something. So to avoid that, the car came with an ignition switch, which was mounted down here. So if you turn the key on, run for the ignition, now the start button and the ignition switch will work. So you can start it. You can, I don't know if you can hear the solenoid clicking, but anyway. To run it and to start it, you have to use the key and you have to turn the key on. Okay? But with the key off, everything else, the water pump, the fan, and everything else will work. And the headlights, flashers, everything will work without the key being on. The only thing the key is controlling is the starting and the ignition. And then on my water pump and my fan and my line lock, I got a little patriotic. I went with, this will be the line lock. I used a red, a white for the fan, and a blue for the water pump to tell you when they're on. And this way, if it did get a little, I don't anticipate it getting warm or anything like that, but if for some reason I needed to shut the motor off, and I could keep the water pump and the fan running. So I know on the line lock, a lot of people were telling me to put it on the shifter or put it on the steering wheel. I have manual steering with a straight up steering wheel. It goes 2.5 turns in each direction. So most of my time is spent on the steering wheel. It's kind of hard to control, especially with the tires spinning. If the car goes sideways, it's very hard to control. So I'd rather have the switch up there closer to the steering wheel than down on one hand on the shifter. Let me shut all these off. I'll shut the key off and we'll shut the power back off. And also today, I've been working on the headlights, wiring. I'm trying to start my way from the front of the car, working back. You can see right here, I just got done soldering these connections. I got to shrink the shrink onto them. I've been shrinking them individually and then shrinking both of them together with another piece of shrink for a little extra protection. This side over here, I already got done. Right here, the wiring going down, it's underneath the car. I'm gonna run it under the radiator in some sheathing and then run it down with these wires down this side of the car, because the solenoid for the headlights is gonna be on this side of the car. So I thought it would be a little easier. So let me go ahead, get back to work, finish wiring this up, and I'll keep you updated. Well, been busy today. We got the other headlight wired. I got the electric fan mounted, you can see. I got it wired. Also, I got the fuel line on. I went and made that. Also made a bracket. I don't know if I move the wires, you can see in here. Bolts to the back of the engine plate, and it hangs down, and I drilled a hole in it and got a 12-in bulkhead fitting to go through it. So I put a 3/4 inch ball valve down here so I can shut the fuel off. When I park the car for more than a week or so, I can drain the alcohol out of it, run some oil through the fuel system so it don't get corroded from the alcohol. So I got a valve there and I'll be able to shut that off. Also got the hot wire for the alternator run into the loom, which is now laying on the floor because I'm stopping here. I got the starter wire and the solenoid wire on, but I got to take the body back off one more time with the throttle cable. So I don't want to go ahead and hook it. I'm just going to stop the wires for there now. Now I think I'm going to go on the other side and start working on the water pump. I got the water pump and the line lock on the other side. Wires got to get run. It should be a little easier than this side. And let me get back to work. Well, this week's been a busy week. I come over here on the other side, the driver's side of the car, wire up everything. I got the water pump wired in now. The line lock is wired in. the brake light, stop switch. I got it wired in, and also my throttle and my fuel shutoff cable came in. So you can see here, I already mounted the throttle shutoff cable. I didn't have a lot of room inside. The only place I could put it was right here next to the shifter. So it'll have to do. And what else do we do? Oh, on this side, you can see here, my zoomies came back from the welder. I polished them where he did the welds. See, they came out really good. Frank Gemini did a hell of a job on them. And my throttle cable came in, as mentioned earlier. So I'm in the process right now of measuring it, and I got to drill a hole here through the firewall and get the gas pedal lined up with the cable, then bolt the gas pedal to the floor. Then I can put the body back on, and that'll be it. It'll be the last time the body's, hopefully the last time the body's coming off. And also yesterday, I wanted to show you, I went over here and picked up some methanol. I got 100 gallons Pro Meth, made by Renegade Race Fuels. So we're ready. I just got to get the rest of the car wired and put back together. Well, I appreciate everybody watching, liking, subscribing, and hopefully we're going to hear it running real soon.